I come to you today in humble admittance that I have spent the entirety of Spring 2025's anime season sleeping on what I am now most certain is the funniest show of the season, and probably one of the funniest shows of the year, frankly. And really, I should have known better in this case. After all, last season's Hotel Slice of Life mystery anime was also quite good, and I mean, that only makes 2 of them in a row, but it's still pretty funny that there were that many of them this close together. So yes, today I am indeed talking about Apocalypse Hotel, an anime original sort of sci-fi, comedy, slice of life mystery spanning hundreds of years. This is a show that caught my interest at the very beginning of the season on aesthetic and hotel alone, but which I didn't follow up on until just yesterday for some reason. Too much anime and too many videos to make, I guess. As it turns out, this one not only features wonderfully relaxing slice of life vibes, much in the vein of something like Yokohama Shopping Log, the classic story of the android girl left behind to take care of her previous master's workplace. That's hands down the closest basic premise to this one that I can think of personally, but this one is certainly much more unhinged. But the show also has, ironically, with City the Animation coming out literally next season from the same studio and the same author of Nichijou, but this one, ironically given that timing, also turns out to have a surprisingly similar sense of humor to Nichijou, and in some moments to Bocchi the Rock as well. Now, I'm not saying it quite meets the same level of production value as Kyoto Animation's classic comedy masterpiece, although it is pretty close at times, but more importantly, watching the wacky alien robot hijinks and just the main character's hyper-dramatic reactions and inner visualizations of the emotional heights of the situations she's in, when it's really all just to represent how seriously she takes her often relatively simple and mundane daily life, as well as the struggle of her job as a hotel receptionist with little to no guests and a brigade of hotel keeper robots to motivate most of the time. The rest of the time, hotel guests who she often struggles to understand, let alone feel that she is satisfying as guests in her hotel. Watching these reactions, as well as just the more unhinged interactions with the aliens, is probably the closest thing I've gotten to the specific kind of gut-busting laughs I get out of watching Yuko and Mio have their freakout sessions in Nichijou. And once again, more recently, Bocchi the Rock's gut-bustingly hilarious panic attacks.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
And you know, what's really funny about this meme in particular, to me at least, is that it's kind of true in a sense. Throughout heaven and earth, Yachio alone is the hotel receptionist, the acting manager, potentially the only one left in the universe. Okay, but what the heck is this show even about, right? Without spoiling where it goes later in the story too much, and oh does it ever more go places based on what I've seen, but basically the story goes like this. Just as the world's first super fancy 24/7 autonomous AI robot powered hotel was completed, a gaseous virus which only affects primates was spread across the earth, causing every human on Earth to either die or to end up having to escape to the stars, in hopes of finding new habitable planets to live on and eventually return to Earth when there was some solution to the virus and the now somewhat less hospitable state of the planet, because it's sort of been taken back by nature at this point. Unfortunately, relaxing and hilarious as the show is, what the caretakers of the hotel, who are all robots with little concept of mortality, don't really seem to realize initially is, given the fact that 100 years have passed at the very beginning of the show, it's unlikely that the hotel manager, or any of the humans they knew for that matter, are still alive. And there's no guarantee that humanity survived at all. And yet, still, even this fairly depressing potential reality obscures something ironically beautifully wholesome, endearing, and optimistic about the future and what we as humans might be capable of leaving behind, potentially as a species. This idea that's subtly represented in even the earliest episodes, that no matter what may or may not have happened to humanity, they managed to leave behind a beautiful, warm, welcoming little respite for all the universe to enjoy. And you understand very quickly watching the show why Yachio considers this hotel worthy of upkeep, worthy of respect, and outright protection, even in the most dangerous situations. And I don't know about you, but something about that just touches my heart, man. So anyway, the moment-to-moment experience is sort of just us exploring the daily lives of the hotel caretakers and guests, particularly Yachio, the hotel receptionist and quality control specialist. Very endearing characters, by the way. Humanoids, traditional robots, and aliens alike. And that's whether they can even speak to begin with or not. They're all so endearing. Experiencing their daily lives, holding out for the rare hotel guests to arrive, who I'm assuming at this point will at least mostly be aliens. Watching them struggle with no concept of quitting to make the hotel even more appealing and to upkeep its reputation even with the planet itself overtaken by the wilderness. And even watching them fight off and defeat terrifying invasive alien species to protect their planet and their treasured hotel. Getting to know the guests through watching their daily lives and their work and their struggle is just so endearing in this show. And I'm sure I'm going to mention this multiple times, but the attention to detail in character acting and quote-unquote action animation and how perfectly intentional it all is goes so far in supporting all of this. Shout out to Cygames Pictures and the animators who worked on this, because this show has been an absolute feast for the eyes so far. Speaking of character animation, the first alien who shows up, for obvious reasons, doesn't speak a lick of English, or Japanese actually. Why did I write English? But the animators done a wonderful job of having him sort of emote with his tentacles, certain gestures, and had him repeat common phrases throughout the episode so that we could kind of slowly begin to understand what he was actually trying to say occasionally, even though there were no subtitles for this alien language. We, the audience, get to sort of struggle, but then in turn slowly begin to understand what this character is saying and gesturing to us about alongside Yachio. And this was just one of the coolest abstract character acting type of animation things that I've seen since we saw, you know, like the hungry bear and the crying hamster in Train to the End of the World, for example. Like, this isn't a humanoid character and it doesn't speak any language that we would understand, but much of the time you understand exactly what it's trying to communicate. It's really impressive. And I guess if it reminded me of anything outside of anime, it would be that
Gojira
the way that the apes and the dinosaurs were able to, you know, really well communicate what they were thinking without obviously them talking. It's that sort of thing, if you watch that freaking
Gojira Kong.
Here, for example, in episode 2, the first alien, who Yachio once again cannot understand, keeps changing the way that Yachio does the OK gesture, fixing the way that she does the OK gesture. This is him teaching her his culture's mannerisms. He's illustrating that he understands what is basically being said here, that this is somewhat of a commonality between the two actually, but that in his culture, this would be the correct way to do it. And at the end of the episode, Yachio does his version of the OK symbol without being instructed to first. Then he simply returns the same gesture. And now that I'm rolling the footage back, I realize that it's actually even cooler than that, because he has adjusted to the human form of the gesture and she has adjusted to his alien form of the gesture, signifying that they have actually both learned from one another. And we know in this moment, with no words spoken, that they actually kind of understand each other now. And just after this, she also almost immediately picks up on his language's version of no money.
No nema.
This is a phrase which he has repeated throughout the episode multiple times in similar circumstances, so that we, the audience, if we pay close enough attention to context clues, can actually slowly begin to understand what he's trying to say over the course of the episode, at least in these basic phrases with these context clues. Maybe even before Yachio understands it. But anyway, right after they come to an understanding, she proves that she can also catch on to other phrases of his and slowly learn his language. And once again, obviously, none of this is explained outright, but once you realize it, it's clear, completely clear as to what the intent of all this was, which is what makes it so subtle and so beautiful. Two creatures from across the universe who seemingly had absolutely nothing in common, now realizing that their cultures might actually be capable of closely sharing certain phrases and gestures. They can teach and learn from one another. And I'm not saying that everything in this show is this deep and subtle and touching in this way. Often what you're experiencing is just unhinged, wild and wacky alien robot hotel hijinks, but a lot of people are going to say that this show is brain rot. And the truth is, those people have brain rot because they were not paying attention. They did not understand these things if they think the show is brain rot. But anyway, beyond just the comedy and entertaining animation, this episode was just so beautifully human. And it was communicated so subtly, almost entirely through animation and ingenious, energetic character acting alone, so that you could piece it together yourself as you watch. And this was just one of multiple examples from this one episode. And of course, it was at this point I knew I had to talk about this. At this point, I was once again reminded why I love anime in particular, and why I'm so happy that I'm currently watching this and not some boring Hollywood slop or goofy propaganda.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
By the way, I know you can see it on screen if you've been watching the B-roll I've been including throughout, but once again, this show is so beautiful. So much more beautiful than I ever could have expected, and it's held up each episode that I've watched so far, frankly blowing me away in episode 4, upping an already impressive ante when most shows would be falling into the Sakuga slump at this point. The show is full of wonderful character acting from humanoids and traditional robots and aliens alike. Yachiyo is animated to be so cute and so energetic and so endearing, and just every range of emotion that she displays is just animated exquisitely. I'm not falling in love with a fictional AI. What are you talking about? One other thing that I absolutely must touch on before closing this video out is that this show so far has one of my absolute favorite, like classy, jazzy, funky, make you want to stand up and dance kind of OSTs. You know what I mean? The OP, on the other hand, pretty weird, not gonna lie. Kinda just sounds out of tune to me, even though the visuals are absolutely gorgeous. I hope this song grows on me more as I finish the season up, because I love the visuals of this OP, but other than that, I love everything I have heard from this soundtrack. But anyway, I just wanted to sit down today to quickly let you know that if you, like most people, have been sleeping on this season's hidden gems, another one of them obviously being Kowloon Generic Romance, which I talked about in another video, but if you've been sleeping on this one in particular, and you like shows like Yokohama Shopping Log, Nichijou, Train to the End of the World, stuff like that, if you just want to experience some unhinged sci-fi slice of life comedy mystery hotel action on a potentially universal scale with a touch of what am I watching? You should definitely take the time to go back and check this one out sometime, or at least add it to whatever sort of list you like to keep for these recommendations. But anyway, I just wanted to knock this one out before the new season sneaks up on us and I have a Yachiyo level freak out, having not released at least one more current seasonal video.
Oh shit, here we go again.
For this exceedingly excellent show, which I cannot wait to finish. I've heard the ending is just like actually the best part of the show, shockingly. You always expect this kind of show to go wrong, right? That's usually my expectation for this kind of show. Like the ending could fall apart spectacularly, but everything I've heard is that the ending blew everyone away. The score went up on Mal immediately after episode 12 dropped, so I'm obviously ready to finish this and just get back to watching it. But anyway, I'll be back soon. I've recorded a bunch of other quote-unquote vlogs, which I'm now mostly just adding B-roll and memes and other unnecessary stuff too, because it's what I do, man. Can't help myself sometimes. I have a huge video essentially done about Lazarus, Cowboy Bebop, and Samurai Champloo, which I've decided to just release after the show ends instead, so that I can confidently put in some final thoughts at the very tail end of that video, because it is a huge topic and I want to touch on basically everything that I took away from it, hence why the video is now nearly an hour long, but it's almost done. But anyway, I'd just like to touch on everything and then move on. because there is just so much to talk about right now in anime and the anime industry. But anyway, I've got a bunch of anime related stuff, industry related stuff, the Crunchyroll hate videos that my YouTube audience clearly loves so much, and much more coming. So enough rambling. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you look forward to more. More than anything, hope you enjoy Apocalypse Hotel as much as I am. And see you again soon. Peace.